Now let people in. You can't be Why don't you let him in, honey? He is, but we can't see anybody. Oh, there. Yeah, there's a lot of static.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Tegan. Hi, Mayati. Hi, Jason. Hi, Shmoo. Sophia, Cameron.
And then you can
Hi, Gianna and Kailani. Hi. Hey, Xiaomei Mei. Hey, Taryn. Hi, Michael. Hi, Anne. Oh, Amanda and Solomon are in the same window. Hi. Did your families merge bubbles? Yeah. Great to see you both. Hey, Nick.
Hello.
Hi, Heidi. Hi, Griffin. Hey, Soso. Hi, Talia.
Claire's wearing an AirPod.
Glad to see you back.
1 minute.
It's Lynna.
Claire wearing lip gloss.
Hi, Natalie.
He's teaching how to cook like this.
Hi, Ro. Hi, Sabrina.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. Who are the twins? Oh, the twins. Or is that the Martins? I think so.
Oops.
Hi, Olivia. Oh, hi, Gracie. Are you cooking for a big crowd again today?
Yeah.
Cool.
Why are you doing that?
Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Ganks. Is Grayson napping? Oh, I can't hear you.
They're not muted.
Oh.
And now they're muted.
Can't hear you, Vanessa. Sorry. Hi, Maddie. Glad to see you cooking today, not your mom this time.
What's going on?
What else do we have here?
We have us. There we go. There we go. There we go. I can't see it.
Hi, Zach. Hi, Lay. Hi, Al.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Asher.
Hello.
Everyone here likes shrimp, I see.
It's too dark. It's too bright.
Yeah.
Hi, Andrea. I think Dee Dee and Mason are playing right now. Oh, you're muted.
He just got off Fortnite. If Dee Dee wants to
Okay.
play with him, I'll send him.
I think Dee Dee's waiting to play Brawl Stars with him.
Okay. You may go. You're lucky.
Okay, so it's a little after 5. Oh, I have a couple more people entering. I have a guest chef with me today. This is May Clara. She's gonna make one of her specialties in our family, which is Caprese Salad. And you've probably seen it on menus, especially at Italian restaurants. But it's a really great dish to make in the summertime because tomatoes are in season in the summer. And so that's why we've waited this long to make it. I think tomatoes get even tastier and more flavorful in July and August, but I think June is close enough. So, hi Ella. Hey Mathis, hi Avery. Great to see you guys. So what's gonna happen today is for those of you who are gonna make the caprese salad with us, Clara's gonna start off by making the salad. And then what's great is that it sits on the platter and it can marinate in the seasoning and the olive oil, and it just gets better as it sits. So by the time you're ready to eat, it'll be perfectly all blended together. And if your parents are nearby and they get hungry or snacky, your parents can start helping themselves to the salad too. All right? So the first thing we're gonna start with is our caprese salad. So grab your tomatoes and your mozzarella. And if you're gonna use garlic, add your garlic and olive oil and basil. And salt and pepper, of course. And we'll be able to use the same cutting board for this entire meal. So we're just gonna wipe it down with a paper towel in between. And I think we can just stick with one chef's knife, but I did suggest a serrated knife in case your knife isn't super sharp and it will be hard to cut through the tomato skin. If you have a serrated knife handy, and a serrated knife is a knife that has these little teeth. So that can be really handy to cut through tomato. Otherwise, if your chef's knife is sharp enough, that's adequate. All right, so I'm gonna turn it over to Clara. I'll be right back, I'll be right here, and we'll both answer questions. I have Emmett as our executive producer today, so if you have questions, he'll unmute you, and you can raise your hand. Hey, Keone.
So we were wondering if it would be better to use this mozzarella or the shredded one.
I would definitely use the fresh mozzarella, not the shredded. All right.
Okay, so we're gonna cut the tomatoes first. We're gonna cut it from the opposite side of the stem because we don't really want to eat the stem. So, am I sorry? Okay, so we're gonna cut it lengthwise like this, like a 1/4 inch. So you can start by just cutting off the end part and putting it in your garbage bowl. Okay, and then you can just keep slicing it really small and just put it off to the side. Yeah, about a 1/4 inch. I'm cutting it a little thin right now. I'm gonna cut it thicker. So you can just keep cutting it like this. All the way to the end of the tomato. And cut all the pieces like evenly the same amount, like the same thickness. And when you get near the end, it gets kind of harder to cut. So you can hold on the stem. Here, you can hold on to the stem. You can hold the end and then cut it. It's easier because it gives you a better grip. Okay, so then you can put the end to the side. We're not going to use it because I don't really want to eat the stem. Okay, and then when I cut the rest of the tomatoes.
So cut the rest of the tomatoes the same way.
Yeah.
So Clara's cutting them about a 1/4 inch thick. I'll show you here. So it's about like that. It's okay if they're not all the same thickness, because like you see this one, she cut it a little bit thinner on one side, it's a little thicker on the other side. It's totally fine because we're gonna layer on your plate, and the thinner side you can just cover with a piece of mozzarella.
Okay.
So Clara's just cut two tomatoes, and she's going to start layering it onto her plate, and then we'll see if there's enough space for the third tomato.
Okay, so I'm going to put my plate here on the cutting board, and I'm just going to put like the rings on the outer ring of the plate, And so you can just layer it all around the plate. You can put the prettier slices on top so that you don't see the not perfect ones. Okay, so my tomatoes didn't quite reach the whole plate, so I think I might cut another one. Okay, so this next one I'm going to cut the same way also. And at the end, if you have extra tomato slices, you can try to fit them in, but if you don't want to, you can still just not use them. Okay. Okay, so I've arranged the tomatoes the way I want, and so I can just put the tomatoes off to the side. And then I'm going to take a paper towel to wipe the cutting board because it's all wet from the tomato juices, and I don't want those on my mozzarella. So I'm just going to like gently wipe it so that it's not as wet anymore. Okay, and then I'm going to take my mozzarella out of the water. I got a mozzarella ball, but if you have like the little balls, then you don't have to cut them. But since I got a big ball, I'm going to cut them into slices like the same way that I cut the tomato. So I'm just going to cut slices again like the same way that I cut the tomato. No. No. Oh, that. Okay, so I finished one bowl. I'm going to move on to the next one. I know, I cut the first one a little too thick, so I'm going to cut this one a little thinner. You should probably get, like, depending on the size, mine, I'm probably going to get maybe like 5 or 6 slices out. Okay, so I just cut 2. I don't know if this is enough, but I'm just gonna cut 1 more, and if it's okay if you have extra, because you can always like refill your plate.
So while Clara cuts her mozzarella, I'll explain a little bit about what I know about caprese salad. So it's a very popular dish in Italy, and it's really beautiful dish because it encompasses bright colors like red and green and white, and those happen to be the same colors as you would see on the Italian flag. So this is one of the most famous national dishes in Italy, and it originates on the island of Capri, which is just a little island off of the coast of Italy. And so these mozzarella slices are pretty big. If you like to have your mozzarella slices this big, you can just keep them this big. If you want them a little smaller, you can also cut them in half too. But I'll let you.
Okay. So I'm gonna take my tomato plate again, and I'm gonna wipe the cutting board a little bit because the mozzarella left some water also. Okay, so I'm gonna put one mozzarella slice in between two tomato slices. So every other slice has tomato and mozzarella. So it's tomato, mozzarella, tomato, mozzarella, tomato, mozzarella. Okay. So again, if you have extra, it's okay. You can just put it off to the side and use it later. Okay, I think I'm gonna take some tomatoes out because it's a little full looking, and I also just want to spread it out because the mozzarella does add a lot more stuff. So I took some tomatoes out because it was looking a little full and stuffed.
And all I'm doing is I'm just taking the spare slices of tomato and just setting them aside. And then you can have them for lunch tomorrow, or you could throw it into your pasta later if you want, but none of it gets wasted.
Oh, Lena, you're a little echoey for some reason. Sorry.
And that's what I'm hearing, Jane. Thank you. Dave's trying to fix that. He and Emmett are troubleshooting right now. Thanks, Jane.
Okay, so we also had some extra mozzarella. I'm just gonna put that off to the side with the tomatoes as well. Okay, so my plate, my mozzarella and my tomatoes are done. And I'm gonna wipe my cutting board again. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna cut is my basil. There's two ways you can prepare it, however you want. You can put it in like a whole leaf in between the mozzarella and tomatoes, so that it's like follows the same rule. But how I'm gonna do it, I think I'm gonna what do you call that? Oh yeah, chiffonade it. So I just stack a bunch of leaves on top of each other. Like this.
How many leaves do you have around there?
I have around like, yeah, I'm probably gonna stack around 8.
You can do more or less if you like, depending on how much you like basil.
Yeah.
And how big your slices, your leaves are.
Yeah. Okay, so that's about good. Just like a good amount. And then I'm gonna roll it up.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, I'm just gonna roughly roll it up like this. It's gonna be pretty fat because there's a lot of basil in my roll. And then I'm gonna take my knife and I'm just gonna thinly slice it. And you can see after you slice it, it comes out like in a really thin strip. And you can use the basil to garnish it, but you can do it however you want. You can put the slices in with the mozzarella and the tomatoes, or you can do this.
Do you want to season first before we put the mozzarella?
Basil?
Season.
Okay, so I'm gonna season the mozzarella and the tomato first. So I'm gonna take the salt and with my hands, and I'm gonna up high. I'm just gonna sprinkle the salt all around the tomatoes and the mozzarella.
And you can be pretty generous with the salt too, because tomato and the mozzarella, neither of them are salty ingredients. There's no salt in either ingredient, so you can be pretty generous in your sprinkling.
And also half of the tomatoes and the mozzarella, they're all like half covered, so you can try to get a lot of salt on the parts that aren't covered to make up for the parts that are covered. Okay, that's what. And then, okay, and then I'm gonna put my pepper on the same way. I don't like too much pepper, so I'm just gonna put probably like 2 circles, 2 rounds. And then my olive oil, I'm gonna drizzle it all around. I think the olive oil is like a really good addition, and it really makes it better because it makes it more of a sauce for it. It tastes better. Yeah, and then I'm gonna add garlic because I think it tastes better with garlic, but you don't have to.
Another popular ingredient people like to add to their caprese salad is balsamic vinegar. So if you happen to have some balsamic vinegar around, you can add it too.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna smash my garlic because it makes it easier to peel. I didn't peel off all the skin yet before I smashed it because after you smash it, the peel comes off a lot easier. Okay. And then I think, well, to cut garlic, I mean, I know my mom's taught you, but what I like to do is I just like do a coarse chop first, and then it's like coarsely chopped, and then slowly, if you chop it more and more, it'll slowly become smaller and smaller, and it'll become minced. I think this is like, it's probably the easiest way, in my opinion, to cut your garlic. The more you cut it, the smaller it gets. And I want my garlic pretty small so that I don't get like a big chunk of garlic when I'm eating my caprese. And remember to like regularly wipe the garlic off the knife because that's where like the bigger chunks tend to pile up. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my garlic and I'm just gonna try not to clump it around, but it is gonna clump because it's wet. I'm gonna try my best to just sprinkle it all around. Okay, and then afterwards, I'm just gonna sprinkle my basil all around on top too to give it more color. Okay, and that's it.
Said, so we're gonna set this aside.
Okay. Oh. It says you're muted.
Okay, better? All right. So we're just letting it set aside. We're gonna use, if you want, you can use balsamic vinegar. I'm not going to use it. Clara usually doesn't put some balsamic vinegar, so we're not gonna use it today, but you can if you happen to have some at home. And it adds a really nice color to it too. So great. So go ahead and wrap up where you're at with your caprese. And the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna fill up our pots with your pasta pot with water, if you haven't already. So grab your big, deep pasta pot and fill it not all the way to the top. You want to fill it about 3/4 full because you want there to be enough space, enough water in the pot to cook all of your pasta. So I'm cooking about 1.5 pounds of pasta today because we have 5 people in our family and I think there'll be enough for about 6 people. So it's nice to have some leftovers. So I'm cooking 1.5 pounds. But if you're cooking less than that, it's fine. And go ahead and turn on your stove to the very hottest temperature for your pasta pot. And I usually put a lid on my pot so that it heats up more efficiently and it saves some energy. So I put a lid on it and I'm putting it up on high. And hopefully our water will start to boil at around the same time. And then we can put our pasta in together. So I have a question for all of you. Is anyone here not cooking shrimp today? Is anyone here doing tomatoes instead? All right, Michael, I see you. Cool. And Talia, you're doing tomatoes also? Okay. Sonia, did I see your hand raised? No? Okay. Anyone else doing tomato? Cameron is. Yeah.
We're doing both.
Okay, so Shmoo had a question. Anna had a question. Whether to salt the water now when you put it on to boil. The answer to that is no. I wait until after it has come to a boil first before I salt the water. Okay. All right. So my other question is, I want to know what kind of pasta shapes you have. I'm going to use linguine today. Linguine means little tongues in Italian, and it's these skinny, flat pasta. I'll show you, where am I? Am I on me? Okay. So it's this skinny, flat pasta here. I like that it's flat because it can pick up the sauce better. Does anyone here have anything that's not linguine? I know that Mayadi has linguine, but it's a fresh linguine. So that's only gonna take a couple minutes to cook. I see McKenna has spaghetti. Avery, what do you have? Do you have linguine? Linguine, okay. Anyone not have linguine?
Raise your hand.
And Natalie, what do you have?
I also have spaghetti.
Spaghetti, okay. Talia, what was it that you just showed me?
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti, okay, cool. Spaghetti, I see thin spaghetti. All right, Amanda, cool. Looks like most everyone has dry pasta, right? Yeah, does anyone have fresh pasta? Oh, Shmuel, what do you have? I see you have a little nest. Are there those pasta nests?
Tagliatelle?
Ah, tagliatelle, nice. And is it fresh or is it dried? I can't hear.
Dried.
Dried, okay. So if you have, there's two different types of dried pasta. There's dried pasta that is like this. And like I see those of you where your pasta came in a package. Taryn and Coda, you have whole wheat pasta?
Yeah, we have whole wheat. We have
Okay.
linguine.
Cool. So whole wheat pasta and dried pasta is gonna take a little longer to cook. So we're gonna put in our pasta first. For those of you like Anna, like Mayati, and anyone else who has is not quite dry pasta, it is dry, but it's not like yours was a fresh pasta that was dried. It cooks actually in less time than this kind of dried pasta. So I'm gonna try to keep track of what kinds of pasta you have and remind you when to put your pasta in. So those of us who have linguine that's dried, that came out of a box, and Taryn and Shamime, yours is gonna take even longer to cook. Yours might take up to 8 to 10 minutes to cook. 9 to 10 minutes, okay? All right, so we'll salt our pasta together. Griffin, do you have a question?
What's better, fettuccine or spaghetti?
It's up to you. If you want a slightly thicker pasta today, you can use fettuccine.
Okay, thank
You
you.
want something thinner, use spaghetti. The spaghetti is a little bit rounder. The fettuccine is flatter. That's the main difference. Okay, so while we wait for our water to boil, let's prep our ingredients because this dish is gonna come together pretty quickly. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chop my garlic. So there's a lot of garlic chopping involved today. I'm gonna chop up about 9 cloves of garlic. If you have big cloves, maybe you can use a little less, but this is a pretty garlicky dish, which is why we love it. So I'm gonna chop up about 8 to 9 cloves. So go ahead and break your cloves off of your big bulb of garlic. And remember, we're gonna do about 8 to 9 cloves of garlic. Actually, these are really big pieces of garlic. I might just do 6. Okay. So go ahead, I'm gonna have Emmett unmute you guys. And if anyone has any questions while we cook, I like to hear all of you guys.
This is always muted. I don't know how.
And remember, when you peel your garlic, you want to smash the garlic first. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to smash our garlic because like Clara said, she said it definitely makes it easier to peel. So take your time peeling the garlic. Okay. So I know most of you, probably all of you are done with school by now. So you have some free time on your hands and maybe you'll take some of that free time to do some cooking. It's okay if when you cook to experiment with different ingredients. You don't have to follow a recipe strictly ever, unless you're baking. Baking, you do need to measure and weigh your ingredients out pretty carefully. But when it comes to cooking, you can take more, there's more room for you to experiment and try different flavors. So as I always do with my garlic, I'm cutting off the kind of brown hard end. It's kind of darker. It's the stem end because it's not as nice to eat. Great chopping, Avery. I see you already really getting in there with your garlic. Good. I mean, make sure to inspect your garlic too. Sometimes the garlic can have like little brown dark spots and I try to cut those off. Like this one here, I don't know if you can see it, but it has this like kind of brown dried end. A brown dried part. I'm just gonna cut that off. We're not gonna use it. All right, and I think I'm going to grab one more clove. Just gonna chop that. And go ahead and mince your garlic. And when you've minced your garlic, I don't know if I included this as a piece of equipment, but go ahead and set it aside in a bowl nearby, in a small bowl that will fit all your garlic. We're gonna set up all of our ingredients so that it'll be easy to throw into the saute pan when we're ready. Like I said earlier, this dish comes together really quickly because the shrimp does not take long to cook. You don't want to have overcooked shrimp because that can make your shrimp taste rubbery. Luckily, tomatoes are really forgiving. You can cook it for a long time, or if you want a more fresh tasting pasta sauce, you can cook it for not too long. So later on, Michael and Talia and anyone else using tomatoes, will take some time for you to cut up your tomatoes. So keep mincing your garlic. Once you're done mincing your garlic, go ahead and set it aside in a bowl. And then we'll tackle our, let's see, I'm gonna have Michael and Talia, when you're done with your garlic, I'm gonna have you move straight to tomatoes. So I'll show you how to chop up a tomato that would be about the right size for this pasta dish. You're just gonna you can cut it coarsely because it's gonna be made into a sauce. Any questions? Great chopping, Taryn. Awesome. I'm really impressed with all of you using chef's knives. I mean, these are big knives. But I think it's really important to use the right equipment and the right utensils for when you cook. And I think if you start young, you get used to it and just becomes second nature for you to use this equipment. Kale, do you have a question?
Yes. I was gonna say, have you got onions yet?
Oh, we're not cutting onions today. You can add onions if you want, but I'm not adding onions to this dish. All right. So I'm about to clear off my garlic and put it into my bowl. Talia and Michael, you want to go ahead and as soon as you are ready, you can grab your tomatoes.
This is Talia.
Yeah.
I have some grape tomatoes.
Oh, perfect.
Is that okay to use those?
Yeah, I would cut them in half, Talia.
Okay.
If you can. It'll make it easier for the tomatoes to kind of break down, and then there'll be a little bit of a juicier sauce.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Michael, what kind of tomatoes do you have? Do you have big, large tomatoes, or do you have cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes?
Larger ones.
Larger ones. Okay, cool. I'll go grab a tomato so I can cut along with you. All right. So anyone who's ready to go on to cutting your next ingredient, I'm going to cut up parsley next. And you remember last time when we cut up parsley, for those of you who joined us for another recipe, I still have my parsley on the stem. Here. So I have this beautiful parsley. It's been sitting in some water. When I buy parsley, when I buy most like basil and parsley, I treat it like a bouquet of flowers. I fill up a glass of water or a jug or a jar of water, and I cut the stems off, and then I let it sit inside I store my herbs in a glass of water or in a jar of water. So it keeps it fresher longer, and it just looks pretty. You can see I do this with my basil too. I keep my basil in these jars like this. It just sits by my windowsill, and sometimes, if you're lucky, if you cut the stem off before you put it into the water, it'll start to take root. So here, I don't know if you can tell, but there's some roots growing at the bottom of the stems. And they say then that you can just replant these, but it keeps the basil fresher longer. All right, so does anyone have their pot of water boiling yet? You do, Tegan? Okay, Cam? Okay, so for those of you who have your pot of water boiling, go ahead and add your salt. And the amount of salt that we add is pretty generous. It's a pretty good 1 or 2 handfuls of salt. So I'm taking my lid off. What am I doing? Okay, I'm at the stove. So I have my pot of boiling water. And so you can see it's bubbling. It's a big rolling boil. And I'm gonna put in a good handful of salt, like this. And this box of salt's about to run out, but this is a coarse kosher salt. So I'm putting in a good handful and just add it in, because you want the pasta water to be as salty as the ocean. Now I know it's gonna be hard for you to taste the pasta water because it's gonna be boiling, but you wanna put in about a good maybe two handfuls of salt. So this ran out of salt, so I'm gonna grab some other salt here and add another handful of salt. There. And then the pasta water can actually act as a flavoring for your sauce too. I'll show you how you do that in a moment. Okay, so go ahead and salt your water, your pasta water, if your pasta water is boiling. Taryn and Shamime, go ahead and if your pasta water is boiling, put your pasta in right now. Okay, and then make sure, anyone else have whole wheat pasta? Whole wheat pasta takes a little longer to cook. It takes about 10 minutes or so. All right, those of you with, let's see, Anna and Mayati, don't put your pasta in yet, okay? So just wait. We're gonna wait. Have you wait about 5 minutes before you put in your pasta. All right. So for those of us, anyone have their pasta water not ready yet? Everyone's pasta water is boiling? Cool. All right. So let's.
Our pasta water's not boiling.
Oh, okay. Well,
In here.
Okay. Well, we'll just take our time. We'll be here. I'll keep cooking with you. So I'm gonna put in my linguine now. I'm putting in 1.5 pounds, and as soon as I put it in, I have a pair of tongs over there, and I'm gonna stir it right away. So as soon as you put your pasta in, you wanna stir it as soon as it goes in, because you wanna make sure all of the pasta gets into the water and it doesn't stick to each other. And in fact, we're gonna stir it every so often as it cooks. Okay, so go ahead and put in your pasta. Awesome. Oh, I knocked the camera. Oops, sorry. Okay, and now I'm just gonna take my tongs and I'm stirring my pasta in. I'm making sure it kind of all falls in as it gets bendy. And you wanna make sure you stir it really well so that none of the bottom parts of the pasta stick together. So I think this is a really important skill to learn, everybody, is how to cook pasta, how to cook dried pasta. Because you're gonna eat pasta for the rest of your life, and it's really easy. It's a really easy and quick food dish to make, but it's also kind of easy to mess it up too. So we're gonna get lots of practice cooking pasta. And my main takeaways for you all is making sure your water is boiling really well, like not just simmering, but really boiling, and then making sure you salt it well, and then making sure you stir it often. So I'm still stirring my pasta to make sure it's all loosened up. Every piece of pasta is touching the water. Every part of the pasta is touching water and not sticking to each other. All of it's submerged. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave this for a second. I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes, and I'm gonna come back to it in 5 minutes. Hey Google, set a timer for 5 minutes. Okay, everybody. So I'm gonna go ahead and take our parsley, I'm gonna come back to our parsley, and we're gonna shave it like we've done before. So you can also pick the leaves off, but that can take a lot of time. So I'm just taking the edge of my knife like this and moving the knife away from me while I kind of shave the parsley leaves off of the stems. It's okay if you have some stems left behind attached to the leaves. It's totally fine. Like that. So I'm just left with a handful of stems here. I'm going to put it into my compost bowl. If you see some really thick stems left behind, go ahead and just pick your leaves off of these stems. But most of it should just be leaves. And then just mince it. So I'm going to mince up our pasta, or parsley. Michael, how are you with your tomatoes? Did you get to chop your tomatoes yet? I didn't get to walk you through that part yet. But not yet? Okay, cool. Okay, so Michael, I'm just going to show you really quickly how I'm going to chop my tomatoes. Let me show you. Here. So cut your tomato into slices like Clara showed you for the caprese. Cut your tomatoes into slices and then just stack them up and then just cut them down into cubes. And they don't have to be the same size. It can be super rough. See, they're just chunks. That's all.
Those are yeah. Excuse me. How many tomatoes should I cut?
I would do 2 or 3.
Thank you.
All right. So go ahead and keep mincing your parsley and mince your parsley.
Wait, you didn't put the garlic in, right?
No,
Not yet. No, we haven't started cooking the rest of the pasta yet.
Okay.
Okay. So as you're mincing your parsley, I'm also coming over here now to give my pasta one more stir and just making sure it's not boiling over. You might need to turn down your heat a little bit if it's starting to look like it's going to bubble over. So I turned down my heat slightly. It's still boiling, but not super roughly. And I'm just stirring my pasta again to make sure nothing sticks. Oh, McKenna, no, do not put a lid over your pasta after you put your pasta in, because what can happen is then the water just boils over and then it just spills everywhere. All right? Okay, while you're at your stove, go ahead and turn on your burner for your saute pan. So I have a saute pan that's about this wide. It looks like it's about 12 inches. I'm putting it onto the burner and I'm going to turn it up to medium. Okay, I'm turning the stove, this burner up onto medium for my saute pan. So you should have 2 pots on the stove right now, your pasta pot and a saute pan. Go ahead and just turn on the heat for the saute pan. You don't have to put anything in it yet. We're just letting it continue to heat. And we're gonna multitask here. I'm gonna keep chopping my parsley as I'm waiting for my pot to heat up. Okay, and then once you have your parsley mostly chopped, you can just leave it on the cutting board because we're just gonna put this directly into our shrimp later.
Can we put the pan temperature to medium?
Yeah, I put it to medium. Thank you for asking. And then the next thing, now that my parsley is pretty chopped, the next thing I'm gonna go grab is my butter and olive oil. If you're not using butter, you can just use straight plain, just olive oil only. I think the butter gives it a really nice, rich, luxurious flavor. So I'm adding 3/4 of a cup of, or 3/4 of a stick of butter, which is about 6 tablespoons. And go ahead and add that to your saute pan.
Hey, Lena.
Yeah.
Do you know why a wooden spoon over your pot of noodles keeps it from boiling over?
I don't know that. I've never heard of that.
You haven't heard that one?
tip. No.
Huh.
Is this Peter?
Yeah. It
I've
stops
never
it from
heard of
foaming
that.
over, and I've always been curious about that one.
Oh, I just turned my heat down.
Also works, yeah.
Okay. Hey, Google, stop. Okay, so my 5-minute timer just went off. I'm gonna, as my butter is melting in my pot, I'm gonna taste my pasta, and I'm just going to make sure it's not cooked all the way.
Lena.
Camera froze?
Lynna,
Okay. Yeah.
did you say 6 tablespoons?
Yeah. 6
Okay,
tablespoons.
thank you.
And Lynna, should for the pot for the butter, should it be on medium or medium
Yeah,
high?
medium. Medium.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Lena,
Yep.
is it the same amount of butter for tomatoes and shrimp?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll make it really nice and creamy, Michael. Or Cameron. Is that Cameron? That was Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead and add your olive oil too. I'm going to add about, maybe like a couple tablespoons of olive oil to the butter. And then just let the butter melt. Yes, Shamime?
How small should you cut the parsley?
Minced. It doesn't have to be like, mine's kind of different sizes, but pretty small. Like here, I'll spread it out on the cutting board so you can kind of see.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many spoons of oil should we add?
I'm sorry?
How much oil should we add again?
Oh, I would say about 2 or 3 tablespoons. More or less if you want. So my olive oil and my butter mixture are mixing together in my pot. Okay. And what I'm going to do next, everybody, is I'm going to turn the heat off of my pasta. So, Mayati, you can go ahead and put your pasta in now. And Shmoo, you can put your pasta in too. And then set a timer for about 4 minutes. Well, check your packaging directions, but it'll probably cook faster.
I'm sorry, Lena, did you say to turn off the pasta?
Turn off the pasta. But let it sit there. All right. So I'm going to add my garlic next. We're going to add garlic to your butter and olive oil mixture. So add your garlic and cook it for 1 minute. It's going to be very careful when you put it in. Make sure you kind of step back a little bit because the butter and the olive oil will be hot. But just let the butter and the garlic cook together for about a minute. And then stir it around.
Hey, Lena.
Yeah.
I was wondering why you use a metal spatula versus a wooden spatula for this.
Oh, they're the same. You could use either.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, didn't need to use this one.
Lena?
Yeah.
I don't think our pasta is cooked all the way through in the water. Is that okay?
That's okay. Once you let it, it's gonna keep cooking as it sits in the hot water.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm cooking my garlic. It's been almost a minute. I just wanted to get the rawness out of it. It doesn't need to brown or anything. It just needs to get heated up. Once you can smell the garlic, go ahead and throw in your shrimp or your tomatoes. If you have tomatoes, go ahead and put in your tomatoes. If you have shrimp, throw in your shrimp.
Wait, Lena, do we put the garlic and then the shrimp?
Yes, garlic first for about a minute and then the shrimp.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I'm going to turn my heat. My heat is still at about a medium. And I'm just going to stir it around and you're going to see your shrimp starting to turn pink. So keep your shrimp going. Just toss it around, making sure it gets to soak up all that butter and olive oil and garlic. Can you smell how good it smells? Awesome. Okay. So mine's now my heat is probably at about a medium high at this point now that the shrimp is in. And then the next thing I'm gonna add is my greens. So if you have arugula or if you have spinach, get that ready next to your pot. The shrimp is gonna be almost ready for you to add those ingredients in. And once your greens hit the heat of the pan, they're gonna wilt a lot. So I know it might feel like it's filling up the whole pot, but it's gonna all shrink and kind of melt in. So go ahead and get your greens ready. So I'll tell you when to put the greens in. My shrimp is not quite ready yet. I'm gonna get it as close to almost done as possible, but not all the way, because like I said, we really don't wanna have overcooked shrimp. Any questions yet?
If our shrimp is done, should we just add the greens?
Yeah, if your shrimp is almost done, not even all the way done, but almost done, go ahead and add the greens. So my shrimp is like still slightly translucent, but not all the way pink yet. So I'm gonna start adding my greens because I know it's gonna, you can see here, I'm gonna add it in because they're gonna shrink a lot. I'm just putting in about one big handful at a time, and I'm still tossing my shrimp around. You can see here that the greens have really wilted in. And then once they've kind of made room, you can add another handful of greens.
Excuse me, Auntie Lynna?
Yeah.
How do we know when to put the arugula in for using tomatoes?
If you're using tomatoes, let the tomatoes kind of really get juicy. Once you have a sauce formed on the bottom of your pan with the tomato juices, go ahead and add your greens.
Thank you.
You really can't go wrong, Michael, with tomatoes. You can add it at any point and it'll be fine.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we have our garlic in the pot. Our shrimp is starting to almost be done. Our greens are in there. If you want to add more greens, if you have some, you can. But make sure you're stirring the whole time. You want to make sure everything's coated evenly in the sauce. Okay. So the next thing we're gonna do, everybody, is the shrimp is almost done. I'm turning down my heat a little bit. I'm gonna take my tongs and I'm gonna move my pasta into the shrimp. Okay, so this is your next step is you're gonna add the pasta straight from the pot into your shrimp pan. Because the residual heat from the shrimp is gonna cook your pasta and make it all really, it's gonna coat your pasta really well. So I'm taking my tongs and very carefully putting it right into my shrimp. It's gonna fill your pot pretty full, but that's okay. I'm right-handed, so I'm using my right hand and adding the pasta into the pot. And I'm using my left hand to kind of stir it at the same time, folding the shrimp from the bottom up to the top so that my pasta gets to get coated. Okay. Just do the best you can. If you feel like you have enough pasta in here, you can go ahead and put the rest of your leftover pasta into an empty bowl and save it for tomorrow. Oops. Sorry.
Lynna, I have a question.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do with the tomatoes?
So is this tomatoes to go with shrimp, or is this straight tomato pasta sauce?
Pasta sauce.
Oh, you can add it in as soon as you add in the garlic. Once you add in the garlic.
Okay.
So if you have extra pasta still in your pot that you don't need, that won't fit into your pan like me, I'm just scooping it out into a separate bowl. And this will be leftovers for tomorrow. And I'll tell you what to do with this pasta in just a second, this extra pasta. All right. So stir your pasta around and turn off your heat. If your shrimp is pretty much done, like mine is, turn off your heat. It's gonna keep cooking, I promise. So I'm folding the bottom of the pan. I'm using my spatula to fold the bottom of the pan over so that all the sauce, all the shrimp gets coated, all the pasta gets coated. And now we're gonna add one last secret ingredient. We're gonna add the parsley and lemon in a little bit, but I'm gonna have you take your ladle. If you have your ladle, take your ladle and add in some pasta water. So just like 1 big spoonful, 1 ladleful. Okay? And then just stir it in, just incorporate it in. The pasta water has some salt to it, and it has some starchiness, so it thickens the sauce. And it'll just coat all of your pasta. It'll make everything kind of coat kind of mix all together.
Lena?
Yeah.
When do you add in the parsley?
Okay, so everyone turn off your heat if you haven't already for your pasta pot. Turn off your heat, and now is when you add your parsley. And we're gonna add some lemons to it too. So you can go ahead and add your parsley straight from your cutting board into your pasta. And Mayati and Shmoo, if you haven't already, test your pasta. Is your pasta cooked yet? Okay, check your pasta. You don't want to overcook your fresh pasta. So I'm adding in my parsley now. The heat is off on my stove. The heat is off my shrimp. There should be no burners on right now. And I'm just incorporating the parsley in. Just stir it in. Okay.
Lena, we
And
weren't
then the next,
supposed to cut the lemons or anything, were we?
no, we're gonna do lemons right now.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so take everything off the stove. Make sure your stove is off. You don't want the shrimp to be cooking anymore. The shrimp is continuing to cook a little bit as it sits in this pasta pan. And now's the time we're gonna take your microplane and take your clean lemon, and you're gonna shave some lemon zest into your pasta. So take your microplane, take your lemon, and put it straight, just grate it straight into your pasta. So I'm using a whole lemon. These are lemons from Taryn and Shameme, from our friends up the street who drop off lemons to us sometimes. Thank you. These are your beautiful lemons.
How much lemon zest should we add?
I'm putting in a zest of a whole lemon. And our other friends who give us lemons a lot too is Asher. Asher and Jane, you guys give us lots of lemons too. This could even be from your tree. It's from one of your 2 trees. And it's like, Mom, you're talking too much. But I just want to acknowledge and thank our friends who give us such wonderful gifts from their yards, from their gardens. All right, so I've put in 1 whole zest of a lemon. If you have more, if you love lemon and you want to put in more, you're totally welcome to. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some lemon juice to this. So remember, your pasta pot should be turned off. I have my lemon I'm going to cut in half here. And I have this is I don't know if you all have seen this before, but this is a citrus reamer, a juice press, a citrus press. So I'm just going to use this citrus press, and I'm going to put my lemon in there. You can squeeze it by hand too. You want about, let's see, maybe about a half a cup of lemon. So this might be like 2 or 3 lemons worth of juice. So I'm putting in half a lemon here. I'm going to put in a total of about 2 lemons worth maybe, but you can put in more if you want. So we are about 96% there. Okay, go ahead and add your lemon juice. All right. Cool. Okay. So mix your lemon juice in with your pasta. And now grab a fork. If you have a fork nearby, grab a fork and taste. Taste it for salt. Taste it for tartness. Thank you. You can sample a shrimp if you'd like, just to make sure it's cooked as you'd like it to be cooked. I'm sure it's cooked all the way because it's been on the stove for a while. Oh, that's good. If you need to add more salt, you can. I'm gonna add some pepper to mine. I'm gonna add some black pepper. I'm gonna just grate it in or grind it in. And then if you like a little spicy, you can add hot red chili flakes. But this is ready to plate. So I have my pasta bowl. I'll put it here. I have my pasta bowl here. I'm gonna go ahead and plate my pasta. It's really heavy, so you might need another adult to help you. Or if it helps, you can use both hands and just pour your pasta or spoon your pasta into your pot, into your serving bowl. So I'm just adding mine here. If you spill a little bit, it's totally fine. I just lost a shrimp. That's fine. There. I'm going to take my spatula and scrape the end of my parsley and garlic. Make sure I get all the garlic in there. And then we're just going to kind of arrange the pasta to make it look a little nicer. Just kind of center it into your serving platter. If you have a paper towel nearby, you can also wipe the edges. You can see here I have like little bits of parsley around. I'm just going to wipe the edges down so that it looks a little bit more palatable. And we're done. Any questions? So we have Clara. So we have our caprese salad. This is Clara's caprese salad. The salt has been kind of marinating and helping to break down the flavors of the tomato and the mozzarella. So we have our caprese, and we have our pasta. I would recommend using tongs to serve the pasta because it can really kind of scoop up the pasta easily rather than a spoon. And then you can grab pieces of shrimp. If you need to add more salt, go ahead and do that, or more lemon, you can do that too. And then Clara's caprese, what I would recommend is you can serve it with a fork or a little set of small tongs and have some bread nearby, and you should be done. So I'll still be here if anyone still has questions. I see some people still cooking. Any questions?
What do we do with the extra pasta?
Oh yes, thank you, Avery. So for your extra pasta, thank you so much for reminding me. I have my bowl of pasta here. Where am I? Oh, here. I have my bowl of pasta here. I'm gonna pour some olive oil over it. I'm just gonna drizzle like 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil while it's still hot. And then take your fork and just kind of mix in the pasta with the olive oil so that it doesn't all stick together tomorrow when you're ready to cook with it again.
Oh. So you don't add all of the pasta?
I didn't use all my pasta because my pan got really full. So I'm taking this extra pasta. I'm gonna let it cool and then I'm gonna put it in the fridge. Annie, did you have a question?
We're about 10 minutes behind. Our pasta is still cooking.
Okay.
So cool. Just wanted to kind of make sure we're doing this stuff because
I'll still be here.
We're trying to
yeah. So is your parsley mixed or parsley minced?
Yes, did you mix the parsley? So we have the shrimp cooked with arugula and parsley.
Thank you.
Okay.
No? What?
Bye, Mayadi. Good job.
Oh,
Thank you. Bye. Enjoy. Oh, beautiful.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, so beautiful.
Thank you.
Annie, sorry, what were you saying? Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Chloe, enjoy your dinner.
Thank you.
Bye, Asher. Bye, Jen.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynna.
Bye.
It looks amazing.
This is the best.
Bye. Good
This
job,
is
Michael.
so, Lynna, this is so amazing. Not only do the kids learn how to cook, but we actually get dinner out of it. We love all of you for doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
There's no
Right
there.
Bye, Jane. Bye, Asher. Bye, Andrea. Bye, McKenna. Bye, Madison. Congratulations on graduating. Woo woo. Let's see, Annie. So where are you in your step?
Are you what you've done so far? Because I wasn't.
We put our shrimp in, and we have I put the arugula in.
Okay, keep stirring everything. Is your pasta almost done?
Yeah, I just finished.
Okay, go ahead and spoon your pasta into the shrimp. How are you doing, Sabrina?
Good.
Are you almost done?
Turn this back on.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay.
Thanks.
Zach, are you almost done? You cleaning up? Okay.
What did I say?
Yeah.
Almost done.
Almost done. Okay. Hey, Cameron. Hi, Tegan. How are you?
We're unmuted.
Good. Good. Are you done?
Yeah, we're test tasting it.
Okay. Yeah, taste it for seasoning. Make sure it has enough salt and lemon. Oh, you pouring me some wine, David? Thank you. David, thank you for the wine.